Hi, this is Adam with Small Town Machine Shop, and today, and probably tomorrow and maybe the next day, we're going to be working here on the hypromac. Now, it's been a while since I've shown it. This is a hypromac 1550. As you probably recognize the transmission there. It's just like a Colchester Triumph 2000. They made this under a couple different names: hypromac, Colchester, Closing, and I think there's another name. But to get parts, you go through, I think, Closing, and parts are expensive for this machine. Now, a little history on it. The previous owners stripped the teeth off 2 of the gears in there. Each one of these gears, like, for example, it's smaller than this. These are the cheapest ones are like $550. And the rest of the parts are just insanely expensive. So I found a used gearbox for $1,500. I came off a allegedly working machine. So I'm looking at that. So I'm gonna get this guy fired up. I need this guy anyway. This will be my only high speed lathe. All my other ancient machines top out at like 550 RPM. It's been nice to have a little more get up and go. And before I order that gearbox, I want to make sure everything's hunky-dory. I know what you're saying, just make the gears you need. Well, the damage that was done, the gears got really hot in there. Some of them got so hot they have bluish tints to them. I don't want to go through the trouble of making those 2 gears and having it break other gears. If I get the other gearbox, I'll have plenty of spares. And my busy time's coming up, so I can cut gears. I have access to a dividing head and all that other stuff. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to wire it up. It's got a 7.5 horse motor. We're going to put the back half of this case on because we need it for the support rod for the clutch. And it's an electric clutch. It reverses the motor for your spindle. And then there's this off neutral in the middle. We'll put the power feed back on. And I'm waiting for a spring for that, but for now, we'll be fine. Because once I have it wired up and the spindle going and this box on, I will be able to 100% use this lathe. It'll be manual feed, for the cross, for that way, which is fine. You'll be surprised with high-speed steel, you put a nice round radius on there. You'd be surprised at how nice of a finish you can get manual feeding something. And for what I do, I don't turn a lot of long shafts down. I'm turning a lot of pump impellers and stuff like that this time of year. So that'll put this lathe in operation. And then we'll take some test cuts on it. I've measured the weighs as best I can, and they seem actually really, really good. It didn't come out of a production shop or anything. It was just in a repair facility. So then if all that's all good, then I will order that box, and then we'll be 100% good to go. With lots of spares. That way too, if any of you have a machine, this is a 15-inch, very common, this 15 by 50, and they made a 15 by 36, very common machine. So once I have those extra gears, if any of you need gears, then I'll help you out with that. So yeah. So we need to scooty puff it a little bit out so I can get to the electrical panel. And we'll get it wired up. And then I need to change the oil in it, or drain it, put new stuff in. I'll probably spray it with heavy lube, and we'll just bump it, make sure electrically everything's fine before we dump a bunch of oil in it. And a very important thing to watch on these style of lathes. This tube right here, this plastic tube, comes from this reservoir here. That's the oil supply for your front spindle bearing. Make sure that tube is in place, or you will very quickly burn that bearing out. Here's the back one. Right there, it just goes right into the casting. This front tube is kind of a weak point for these. So yeah. Okay, let's get this thing pulled out and let's take a look at the wiring. I'll bring you back. Okay, so I got our cord all made up. Just need to tie it in there. I want to use that style connector. You know, where you put the wire in and crimp with a set screw. On over 5 horsepower motors, that's what I like to use, but that's personal preference. Everything here checks out. Nothing goes to ground. This is the main motor contactor. This is for the coolant pump. That's part of the reversing mechanism, because the spindle changes direction electrically. And there's also a brake. And there's a transformer in there. This all checks out good. I'm going to top off the oil tomorrow. I was just going to bump it, but I want to top it off. And then we'll change the oil after our initial test, if it looks like it's going to be good. To do that, I need to bolt this on here. I'll take all the stuff out of it, because we need this to be the carrier for that rod. We'll just put it on both ends for now. We don't have to have the apron on to use that rod. So before we do that, we'll test it and make sure everything's hunky-dory. So I'll get some oil tomorrow. I'll get a new hose. And yeah, kick this guy over. And then if it runs and everything looks good, I'll take that rod back off real quick. And then we will put the gearbox, the apron on. That way we'll have our feeds back. And we'll go from there. Very cool. This is Adam from Small Town Machine Shop. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.